Hello there, my name is Hido and welcome to the Pantheon, where we're doing the last face commander for this Baldur's Gate nightmare that we've found ourselves in. And what a fitting way to end the nightmare, with some horror. Specifically, we got Captain Nigthrod. 5 mana for a 3/6 horror pirate. How horrible. Anyway, horrors you control have menace, so a nice bit of evasion built in there to get your horrors in for damage. So we're going for a horror themed deck here. Horrible. Whenever a horror you control deals combat damage to a player, that player mills that many cards. Oh, what a surprise, the mere mill. Who would have ever thought it? And at the beginning of your end step, choose target artifact or creature card in an opponent's graveyard that was put there from their library this turn. Put it onto the battlefield under your control. So an excellent way of stealing things, and this commander can steal things as soon as he comes in. Because we're going to go to the end step if we've milled, incidentally or something like that, or maybe with another spell. Well, we're going to get something back from our opponent's graveyard. And usually, generally, your opponents are playing cards that are quite good. Unless you're playing against me and they're all garbage. But then you can just pile up some garbage, can't you? It can be like a scene from a horror film or something like that. Horror things. Anyway, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making videos like this for every single legendary creature, and by God, there's a lot of them. So come and join me on the journey. And now, without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for in number 5. What do we have? Well, we've got horrors. Shockingly enough, you might want to consider playing some horrors. Possessed Aven is really, really cool. Look at that artwork, that massive bird's head in the background. 4 mana for a 3/3 bird soldier horror. And it's got flying, so it's got built-in evasion. So, this is going to mill for 3, but there's more. It has threshold, so that means if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard, we're going to get this effect. It gets +1/+1 and is black, and has pay 3 and tap, destroy target blue creature. Now, as everyone knows, blue is the most hated colour in Magic. Everyone despises it. Yes, we're playing blue, but we're very self-hating. We're self-deprecating in that way. But being able to destroy a blue creature on command just by tapping this, that's pretty good. And a lot of good commanders are blue. So bing, bang, bosh, there you go. Nice bit of removal. And then it's a 4/4 that'll mill. It's got flying. It's got menace. Ooh. So many cool things. Moving on from that, we've got Avenox, the Mind Flayer, which works in 2 very good ways for this deck. 1, it's a horror. And 2, it steals your opponent's cards, which is really nice. 7 mana for a 9/9 legendary enchantment creature horror. It isn't a creature unless you control 3 or more permanents you don't own. So we're going to be stealing things. So generally, we should be able to get this on line. And then it's a 9/9. With menace. Wow, fantastic. The main reason you want to play it, though, at the beginning of your end step, exile the bottom card of each opponent's library face down. For as long as those cards remains exiled, you may look at them and you may cast permanent spell from among them, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So it's going to allow you to get those cards out there, and then he turns himself on. Which takes me on to Voidmaw, another horrific looking thing. 6 mana for a 4/5 with trample, so trample and menace, quite a bit of evasion there. If another creature will be put into a graveyard from play, remove it from the game instead. So a nice bit of exile there. It allows us to sort of control our opponent's graveyards. Yes, we want to be milling into them, but we don't really care if their sort of creatures are dying, so let's put them into exile. And then this card has a cool ability. Put a card removed from the game with Voidmaw into its owner's graveyard. Voidmaw gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So because this is a horror, we can probably grow this to be absolutely massive. Oh my God, there's a skeleton. But you can absolutely grow this to be ridiculously big and then mill our opponents for tons of damage. Very cool. Then here's a cool one that we get 2 uses of. Ethereum Abomination. Look at the artwork on that. By God, it looks like you're going to get a rust-based infection, doesn't it? 5 mana for a 4/3 horror artifact creature, but you can unearth it for 3 mana. So you return it from the graveyard as an activated ability, and then it gets haste and you exile at the end of turn. So a nice, really cool card, and it benefits from the menace our commander grants it. So we should be able to get in there, mill our opponents for 4, and just a bit of incidental damage. Then we've got the Dread Slaver. 5 mana for a 3/5 zombie horror. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Dread Slaver this turn dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colours and types. Really, really good if, our opponents are forced to chump block. We get to bring something back, but it's a threat. They might consider trying to block and kill it, or it might just eat a removal spell, and then our commander is free to reign supreme. Really, really cool. And, if we've got some lure sort of effects, very, very good as well. Then we've got Hypnox. Ridiculous artwork. I love it. Look at those blues. They just look so dramatic with the purples behind. Great use of the border as well. It fits in. It just feels like old Magic to me. Anyway, it's 11 mana, so it's going to be sitting in your hand, so you get a lot of time to look at the artwork. It's an 8/8 Nightmare Horror with flying, and when it comes into play, if you played it from your hand, remove all cards in target opponent's hand from the game. So, if your opponent's sitting over there going, ho ho ho, I'm the combo deck. You play this, admittedly for 11 mana, but you play it anyway, and you get to steal all of their things, and then they can't play them. Although, if it does leave play, return the removed cards to their owner's hand. Now, a really cool thing you could do with this is if you have a sacrifice outlet on the field, you play it with the trigger to steal all of your opponent's cards on the stack, you sacrifice this. Alright, we don't get to attack with it or anything like that. But what that means is that ability to return them back will trigger, and then it resolves first. Then we exile our opponent's hand permanently, which is pretty goddamn good. So, really cool card to see. And then we got another big hitter, Toxriel the Corrosive. 7 mana, 7/7, Slug Horror. Sluggy. Oh, big slugger. Sluggish. I've run out. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. Pay a blue and a black, sacrifice a slug, draw a card. Very, very cool, very nice engine. It's a board wipe. It draws your cards. It creates a board presence. It does everything all in one card. It does cost 7 mana, but it gains menace from our commander. Brilliant. So there we go. There are a couple of unique horrors that you might consider playing, and I think a lot of them do really fit into this deck, which takes me on to number 4. And at number 4, we've got Mill, because yes, okay, we can mill by dealing damage with our horrors, but let's just mill, because our commander only cares about seeing cards go from the, what's it called? Library to the graveyard. So, just milling in general is wonderful. And Maddening Cacophony is fantastic. And if we play our commander for 5 mana and we've got 2 mana left over, we can play this on the same turn, instantly probably get something. Maddening Cacophony, 2 mana for a sorcery with kicker for 4. So we could cast this for 6. Each opponent mills 8 cards. If the spell was kicked, instead each opponent mills half their library rounded up. So, if, we're milling a total of 120 odd cards, we should probably get something good from our opponents. At least that's what I think anyway. So this is fantastic, really digs deep. And milling half a library, it's pretty game winning as well. And the best thing is, people hate it. So they're going to be miserable, which is always great to see. Then Paranoid Delusions is a really awesome sorcery. 2 mana, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Interesting, but not too good. However, it has Cipher. So when you cast this spell, you encode it onto a creature, which basically means the sorcery is enchanting the creature. Then, whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of Paranoid Delusions. So, because we've got so much nice evasion on our horrors, we can, mill someone for 3. Whoa! They go, was that worth 3 mana? 2 mana? You go, well, no. Then anyway, you get in and you cast it again. You milled 6. Yeah. And you get to cast the copies for free. So it's actually really cool, and it fits with the sort of unblockable sort of theme we're going for. I like it. It fits well in the deck. And if we're milling, let's play Bruvak, the Grandiloquent. And I swear to God, the names of cards are getting harder, or I'm getting more senile. I'm getting older, so that is possible. Anyway, 3 mana, 1/4 Human Advisor. If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. So with Maddening Cacophony, if we make them mill half of the library, well, what's 2 halves mean? It's the whole library. This is quite the combination, and it will win games. Furthermore. And then we've got a cycling card. I couldn't not throw one in. I think this is in the pre-con to start with, but it's so incredible because it has cycling. Fractured Sanity is a 3 mana sorcery. Each opponent mills 14 cards. That's quite good. 14 cards. 28. 42. That's quite a lot of cards, and we should get something out of it. So, cycling, you can pay 2 mana to discard the draw a card. Best mechanic ever printed and conceived. Whenever you cycle it, each opponent mills 4 cards. So, even if you're cycling it, getting deeper into your deck, you're getting an incidental bit of mill. And that's 4, 8, 12 cards that we should be getting there. Really, really good. So, a nice little mill selection for you. Then, in at number 3, we've got something interesting. It is a Faceless Devourer. 3 mana for a 2/1 Nightmare Horror with Shadow. And this section, it's all about giving things unblockability because we want our creatures to get in damage. But when this enters the battlefield, exile another target creature with Shadow. Not many creatures with Shadow. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it's got a nice bit of evasion because Shadow can only be blocked by creatures with Shadow. There aren't any creatures with Shadow. But it's got a cool sort of removal spell aspect to it. Can we use that in any way? Well, if we're playing something like Traitor's Clutch, which is a 5 mana instant, okay, that's pretty menacing. Target creature gets +1/+0 and becomes black and gains Shadow until end of turn. Well, we could possibly combine it with this to have a situational removal spell. I think it's cool. But the real reason you want to be playing this is because it allows us to get in with some of our creatures. Plus, you can flashback it for 2 mana. So, say we've milled this into our own graveyard. Paying 2 mana for that effect is really quite good. I like it a lot. Then, if we're playing Shadow, Thalakos Deceiver isn't a horror, but is fantastic. 4 mana for a wizard with Shadow. Sacrifice it, gain control of target creature permanently. Use this ability only if it is attacking and unblocked. Well, guess what? Nothing's blocking anything with Shadow. So we're going to get in there unblocked. We can sacrifice it and we steal, a commander. Maybe. That's pretty goddamn good. Or, Kozilek, Ulamog, something ridiculous like that. Great card to just sit on the field, and our opponents really will have to play around it. I love it. Then, Shadow Rift is another great way of giving a creature Shadow. Single blue for an instant, target creature gains Shadow until end of turn, draw a card. So, worst comes to the worst, if our opponents have 1 creature on the field, instant speed, 1 blue to draw a card. We just cycle it. Cycling? Oh my god. But this is a great card to see, and, allowing us to get in with a massive creature, maybe something like Consuming Aberration, is amazing. 5 mana for a horror, Star. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. With all the mill we've got knocking around, this is going to be insane. And whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals the cards from the top of his library until he or she reveals a land card. Puts those cards into his or her graveyard. Works on every dimension we want. This could just easily one-shot someone, and if it doesn't, it's going to maybe make the mill 20 cards, and then we just mill for casting creatures. Amazingly good. Then Night Howler, another horror. 3 mana for a horror. 0/0. But we can bestow it for 4 mana, so we can put it on anything else. Although it doesn't make that creature a horror. So if we put it on, say, Thalakos Deceiver, this being an aura on it will not make it a horror. It is an XX, well, it's a 0/0, but it gets plus X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. And again, with all the mill we've got knocking around, it's going to be colossal. And then Flesh Reaver is just a cool card. I love the name. I really like the art. And it's a 2-mana 4/4. Whoa. Great for getting in there and milling people. When it successfully deals damage to a creature or opponent, it deals equal damage to you. So we're going to take quite a bit of damage, but it's great blocker, great attacker, really, really nice. And, you know, a bizarre horror that you might never see play. So there you go. Unblockability and some creatures that really benefit from it. Nice. And that takes me on to number 2. And at number 2, we've got stealing. Everyone likes stealing. You know, you're just walking along, you bust open a car, you know, rifle through it. No, I actually don't do that. It's very illegal. I was going to say pretty illegal. No, it's just illegal. Don't do that. But stealing in the game of Magic is really, really fun. Creator's Grasp is one of the best versions of this. 3 mana for a sorcery. Search target opponent's library for a card and exile it face down. Then that player shuffles his library. You may look at and play that card for as long as it remains exiled. So the great thing about this is we could just steal, you know, Sol Ring, something like that on turn 3. Really get ahead in the game. Or if our opponents are playing a combo deck, maybe we steal one of their combo pieces and they don't know what we've stolen. So we could just sit there and, you know, just rub our hand as they sort of spin the wheels and do nothing. So great card to see. Then Acquire works very similarly, but it gets that card straight onto the field. 5 mana for a sorcery. Search target opponent's library for an artifact card. Put that card into play under your control. Then that player shuffles his library. A lot of times this is just going to act as quite an expensive ramp spell because we can just search up a massive artifact that taps for loads of mana. But sometimes you get things like a Mindslaver, you get Blightsteel Colossus. The possibilities are nigh on endless. Then we've got Bribery, which is the creature version of Acquire. 5 mana sorcery, search your opponent's library for a creature card, put that card into play under your control. Then they shuffle their library. Wonderful. Stealing. Oh, I just love it so much. And you get, you know, maybe some situational cards. You could maybe steal a Ginger Tactics. Ginger Taxes? Ginger Taxes. I swear, I'm falling to pieces. My age is showing. Just my bald spot is. And then if you want to go really hard into stealing, we've got Eternal Dominion. 10 mana sorcery. Search target opponent's library for an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land. And put that card into play under your control. That player shuffles his or her library. Epic Games. They have really good sales on sometimes. Epic. Basically, you can't cast anything ever again. But you get to cast a copy of this spell every upkeep. So you just keep stealing. Play this if you're really far ahead and you've got some incidental mill going on with your commander on the field. Then that way our commander will keep stealing things. We'll keep stealing things with this. It's good fun. So a nice stealing package. I'll steal the package from your porch. And that takes me on to number 1. And at number 1, what have we got? We've got a horror, but I love this mechanic. It's Flesh Writher. 4 mana, which looks bizarre, like the mana cost over in the right-hand side. Left-hand side? Oh, God. Anyway, it's a 3/3 horror. Not that impressive, but it's got Transfigure. 3 mana. Sacrifice this creature. Search your library for a creature card with the same converted mana cost as this creature and put that card into play. Then shuffle your library. Play it only as a sorcery. So it's a tutor directly onto the field from our own library. Wow, I love it. It's just so cool. The artwork's absolutely disgusting in every way. And it's a horror. Oh, it's going to get menace. Probably going to sacrifice it though. But what can we get with it? Well, Mind Slice is a pretty goddamn good horror that we might want to sacrifice. Or chump block with. 4 mana, 4/3 horror. When it is put into a graveyard from play, so when it dies, each player discards his or her hand. Utterly miserable, horrendous in every conceivable manner, but my God, is it good. Really, really great and works wonderfully in this deck. Then Phyrexian Obliterator. 4 mana. Quad black. Wow. For a 5/5 horror with trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. Oh, it's just insane. I love these effects. They're so flashy and blingy. And the fact that Fleshwrither can pull this out of the library, brilliant. Brilliant. Because, you know, sometimes getting to quad black is pretty goddamn hard. So a lovely card there. Well, not lovely, it's horrifying. Then we got the Thought Gorger. 4 mana 2/2 horror. Trample. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it for each card in your hand. If you do, discard your hand. When it leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each 1/1 counter on it. So it gives us a large horror, but yes, we have to discard the hand. What I'd do is I'd only search this up if I've got a sacrifice outlet on the field. You know, we can get a big beta, maybe a 9/9, something like that, and then sit there with no cards in hand. Then we can swing in, sacrifice it, or if someone tries to exile it or something like that, we're going to be, actually, if they exile it, who cares? You draw it. It's when it leaves. Okay, just sit there with no cards in hand. But a sacrifice outlet's really, really good to see. Great card, and it can be searched up with Fleshwrither, the Fleshwrither selection. Weird. But those are the cards that I'd play in this deck. Please subscribe to my channel. Join me for many more videos like this. I'm going to make lots more. Hopefully my hair will grow back. Although I'm not holding out too much hope. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.